questions first to be asked, Sean, and first out the back, some of the big names.
Yes, well, I think some of the riders that are coming back in here, Jan Izagirre, of course, he had a very bad fall in the Tour de France, so I think he's, not at his best in this early days of the Vuelta. He probably needs a number of days to get back into the racing, and today, you did not get an easy day to ride yourself in, as we can see, and more riders starting to lose contact. That's Froome.
Chris Froome. Well, as stated, I was just looking at Gasparotto as well, and Chris Froome, I'm afraid. Well, we asked the question earlier on, and you're seeing the answer right now. We talk about big names, and Chris Froome, well, there were none bigger for so many years, and this has been a tough day. Now, we don't know whether the likes of Izagirre and Froome, all of whom have suffered, as you well know, as Spanish champion Luis Leon Sanchez just starts to look back. Yeah, questions, of course, will constantly be asked. Were they just caught out by the traffic? He doesn't look like he's had any kind of other issues, save for the fact that today was such a loud day, Sean, in terms of its demands upon the riders, and even the very best are finding themselves wanting.
Yes, well, that is the problem with this Vuelta. With the days we have here starting out, it's so demanding today. The wet conditions, all of that has made it more difficult again. And if you're not really ready 100%, well, then you can get caught out. But for Chris Froome to be losing ground here, we can see there's still a huge group of riders, and losing contact at this point is not looking good at all for him, because you'd expect him to be able to cling on in this group. If you are suffering a bit, you'd still be able to stay in it. But he does that. He loses a bit of contact and then recovers and gets back in again. So hopefully he can do his usual here and get back into this group.
Chris Froome struggling at the back of the peloton, and notably as well, Ineos Grenadiers pushing on the pace, so they're not exactly waiting for Chris Froome. You wouldn't expect that, because Richard Carapaz and Ivan Sosa are their principals, but Chris Froome in his last Grand Tour in Ineos Grenadiers before he moves to Israel Startup Nation next season, I'm afraid, just struggling a little bit. But then again, as we've said, opening salvos of this race have been very tough. What a way to start, with the more benign introduction that we would have had to the Vuelta had we taken the first opening 3 stages in the Netherlands. Didn't happen. 17.3 kilometres to go, which means we are not that far from the peak. In fact, with about 300 metres to go until we get to the top. If Froome can hang on, then he's still got another test, which is the big pickup into town. Dan Martin's called for action. Luis Leon Sanchez tucked in with the Spanish champion's jersey. Just in front of him is Esteban Chavez, and that is nice to see, with the acid green shoulders to him. This is Lastra, who went off like a modest firework, and unfortunately it looks like he's going to come down in the car park somewhere away from the front. But nonetheless, he has done a job. So has Van Baal, by the looks of things. They're picking it up, and still Hugh Carthy bouncing nicely, centre of proceedings for EF Pro Cycling. Also there is Danny Martinez after his bad fortune earlier on today. That's good to see him picking it back up. But Chris Froome, I'm afraid, has had a difficult start to today. Looking at the tops of the trees, a little bit sheltered as we come round the circuit here. We're on this loop, Sean, of 30 kilometres with this rather pesky Alto de Elgueta. It's not been an easy test, and a few have been found wanting.
No, it's not been an easy day, and we were forecasting that in the earlier part of the day and in the days leading up to this start of the Vuelta, because the stages, they were very difficult ones. The wet conditions they've been through today, that has made it more difficult again, and we see a lot of riders that you're expecting to sit in this group comfortably enough having difficulty. Chris Froome is battling bravely there. We can see he's just clinging on to the rear end of this group, but we can see other riders as well. Group AM FDJ, I can see Thibaut Pinot, he's a bit further down in this group, although he has some of his teammates. Godot is very much to the front, and we have Chris Froome here just battling, trying to make it over the top in contention on the tail end of this group.
Well, he's been hanging out here, taking the wind, I'm afraid, for quite some time. Just tantalisingly 5 or 6 bike lengths off where he would want to be. Looking back through this group, I was just about to say I couldn't see Thibaut Pinot. 2 of his teammates up there, and Chris Froome has the burden of the cameras, which will follow him. Of course, such a great rider coming back from an appalling injury that would have seen most people struggling to walk, never mind get back into the pro peloton. But getting back into the peloton at the moment is what he's got to do. It's great to see Dan Martin apparently functioning well, Sean.
Yes, well, he's very much to the front here and looking good, and this is going to be an interesting one. Dan is a one that he can do this final climb very well, and again, if Dan goes in the attack, he's not going to be one of the big favourites, so he might be allowed a little bit of more road space if he's capable of attacking. But we can see here it's just controlling at the front of the peloton for the moment. They're not really pushing on as they were on the earlier part of the climb. Now they're all thinking, get down this descent safely, get onto the final climb, and then see what the position of race is. And Dan Martin, certainly, he is going to try and give it his all and get a stage win. And to get a stage win in the earlier days, that would be a dream start for anybody in the race, because for the individual, the rider herself, it just gives you that morale boost. For the team as well, it relaxes everybody, and we often see the victories come easier after your first one, and if you can do it on day one, what an achievement it would be.